it's day 3 now. I think it's like -1, so it's not too cold, but it's cold enough to be a problem for us. It's harder to work this way. Anyway, right, what we're going to do, we're going to get the insulation in the base, and I'm going to get the chipboard flooring on top of that and try and get a couple of walls up as well, but we'll see how we go on anyway. So first things first, the insulation. I want to put the insulation in the bays. We created a 400 wide bay. Now I've put the insulation in the bay. What we used to do, we used to put it in and nail gun through the sides and hold it in, but without doubt you would stand on it and push it down. It was a nightmare to push it back up. So what we're doing now, we are gonna put slate battens underneath which will carry the insulation and stop it ever from falling through as well. So how are we going to do that? Right, so we're going to cut some slate battens and get them under there, and I'll show you how and why we're going to do it in the way we're going to do it. Jen's in today. What she's going to do basically is just organise stuff and sort of pass me stuff really, because if I might possibly need to cut the video short and stuff like that and get off. So that's what she's going to do. She's not actually going to help me as such. She's just going to kind of pass and stand there and be called. And she passed her theory, didn't you, Jen? First time? First time. And a pass is a pass, isn't it? Right, so I've cut 3 at once, and the reason why I've done that is because the insulation is 1.2 wide. The bays are longer than that, so I'm going to need 3, which will then hold it down. Where's drill, Jen? There it is. Right, what you can do if you're going to struggle for room is put these on the floor first before you put your joists in, because you won't get them in otherwise, and I'll show you why now. What's in them bags, do we know? Kettle. Oh, kettle. Right, okay. So this one's not too bad, but we have had others where you couldn't get them in, so you want to put them in first. I'll just get them roughly where they're going to go. Right, so the insulation is 1.2, which will come to about there, I do believe. So what I'm going to do, obviously that shoe's in the way there. I'm just going to look at this one down here as well. And I put that at an angle like that. Can you see that, Davey? Yeah, that'll support that insulation there. So how am I going to fix them? If Davey comes over here, we'll see. I'm going to get one of these 100mm screws and I put it through at an angle like that. I'm going to hold that batten up there then and fix it through, and the same again, sending it through at an angle and just work my way along. And then what will happen then, when that insulation sits on there, it won't actually fall through anymore, which is what we're aiming to do. This series is doing all right. There's quite a few people interested in watching it. I think I'm giving you as much detail as I can. And we are giving away all the ox hand tools that you've seen on the job. But we've come out here today now, and Davey's left the spirit levels in the container, hasn't you, Davey? He has. But we're not going to stress about it. What we're probably going to do is nip that tool station and buy another level. Right, so same with this one again. My 1200, I'll show you where my 1200 finishes anyway, and it'll give you a better idea what. My 1200 finishes there, so that'll be the full sheet. And then what I'll do then, I'll put that one there, which will support the little offcut that goes in as well. If Davey just turns around, he'll see what Jen's doing there. So I am still doing this on my own. It's just, I've had a bit of news that I might have to go home at some point throughout this job. So I'm just making sure that everything's ready to go at a drop of a notice. Drop of a hat. So that's why she's here. but I will still do this on my own. So I'll carry on with this bit and then I'll put it on time lapse. So you can see that it's solid enough to support the insulation, and you'll be able to see when I've done it that I can actually walk along it. I've had quite a few compliments about Davey being good on the camera. He's available for weddings and christenings as well, aren't you, Davey? I've also had a lot of people, so you've watched these videos and you've asked, and I've answered the question loads of times, can I use postcrete for the rods? Now the postcrete is not strong enough, it isn't strong enough concrete, and what can happen with it can separate and broke. I've repaired many a fence in my time and the posts have been put in with postcrete, and when I've took the old posts out, the concrete's split and broken. But what you're in danger there of is the concrete breaking and the rod pushing through and moving, so it's basically not strong enough now. You can get a pre-mixed bag of concrete. It's 40 Newton concrete. It's made by a company called Hanson, I believe. That is strong enough if you want to go down that road. Right, so that's that bay completed with the slate lats. So what will happen now, look, 1200, that'll be the full piece of insulation there, and then there'll be a little cut there. So it's all supported by them, which will stop it falling down. Any movement in these, it ain't gonna fall down. If you stand on it by mistake, it won't fall down either. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna put slate lats in this bay, and then we're gonna cut some insulation, and I'm gonna show you the insulation getting cut and how we notch it round where the shoes come up as well. So the slate bands are in, so what we'll do, we'll start insulating at the back. So there'll be a 1200, then there'll be a rip, then there'll be a 1200, then there'll be a rip. So I'm going to show you now how to cut insulation and how it fits, and hopefully it will fit. Let me just make sure that that's all right. I'm going to flip it over because it's ice side down. Right, 400. Davey, come over here, you might see it better. Probably a little bit high for me, that, because I'm only short. You're laughing at. Right, so there, look, can you see it's on 400, Davey? Yeah? So what I've done now, I've locked my finger there, locked it on 400. I'm going to use that as a guide, and then I'm going to stick the end of the tape measure there, look, into there, and drag it down. And that's my 400 segment, which I want. Now, what I need to do is keep that as straight as that, preferably, which isn't the easiest thing to do. There's lots on the market to cut these. There's a blade for the jigsaw, we tried that, it was crap. There's a blade for the multi-tool, we tried that, that was also crap, wasn't it? Yeah, so we're back to the handsaw. I know Rob Clevitt set up like a table with his circular saw, and he had the hoover on it, an extractor rather, and it worked a treat, but obviously we don't have that luxury here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the handsaw, I'm looking down the blade. David, just stand behind, you might be able to get this a better picture now. Stand behind that shoulder there, mate. Right, can you see straight down the saw blade? Right down behind my shoulder. See it, yeah? Right, so I'm going to keep the saw low and nice and straight like that. You can just see it going through. It's quite easy to cut. It's only an old handsaw. And as it gets towards the end there, I'm supporting the other piece of insulation with my hand and with my groin, I suppose, so that it doesn't snap off at the end. That's your 400 bit. I mean, you can see that there. It's relatively square, isn't it? Yeah. Right. So what'll happen now? That'll pop in a bay. I'll show you a bay without a shoe first. That one there, maybe. Jen, will you pass us a block of wood? Right, so I've made it a bit tight for myself, obviously. Oh yeah, I want a smaller bit than that though. And that there now, you can pop that down. I'm alright actually, Jen. Yeah. So if you remember, we set the bays out at 400. I've cut the insulation at 400, so you've got 6 pieces of insulation in a 2.4 sheet. And there you can see now, I can stand on the insulation. It doesn't fall through. It's a nice tight fit. So what I'll do now, I'm going to cut another one, and I'm going to show you how we're going to get round the fact that we've got a shoe there as well. So, excuse me, same again. I'm going to lock my finger off at 400. I can't believe the difference 1 degree has made to the temperature. It's freezing, isn't it? Again, I'm going to saw down there, keep it as straight as I can. That's all right. So we'll go over here again, Davey. Just watch you don't slip on them, Davey. They've got ice on them. Right, so let's go for this bay here. You can see there now there's a metal shoe. Now the metal shoe is going to hold the insulation off, which will create like a maybe 10, 12, 13 mil gap there, which we obviously don't want. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put that into place where it needs to go. Just come over here, Davey. Can you see there, look? See the shoe there, can't you? So I'm just going to go to the side with the saw. Just mark that so I know where I'm cutting. Flip it over. You can see the mark there where I put it. Cut that in there. Cut that there. And there. So that's cut out for the shoe. And then that should now fit in there nice, which it does. So that's how we cut out and get round the shoes. If you haven't used the shoes in the washer, you won't have that problem. It'll just sit down. But of course, we've talked about shoes and washers and why we use the shoes and why we don't make our own shoes on site, Jen. Do we? Because we're not cobblers. Right. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to cut the rest of this insulation, put it on time lapse, and once we've got all the insulation down, we can get some actual flooring boards. So what I'll do is I'm going to cut a load of 400s now and fit all these bays, and then what I'll do is I'll cut a little piece off a 400 and infill all them as well, and that'll be the full base done. The 100mm insulation's all fit now. You see there, look, it's an all a nice tight fit all round. What I've done over here, look, I've left this one a little bit shy for you just to show you what you can do if you've not cut it quite right, and I won't worry too much about it. Bit of expanding foam in there. And that'll seal up that gap there. So if you go around, you've got a few gaps, a bit of that. It's gun grade. Now, you can get it where you don't buy the gun, but trust me, the gun is worth the 20 odd pounds that it costs, because if you get the other one where it's not, it's got a little plastic nose on it and it's got life of its own and it just comes out and it goes everywhere. That's controllable. It's quite precise and it's accurate for filling gaps, but unfortunately, turn around, Davey, Jen's not allowed to use the gun, because she goes crazy with it. So that's that. Right, that's that down. What we're going to do, I'm going to get my chipboard flooring, which is behind Davey there. It's 22mm thick. This is Egger. We use Egger we use Egger simply for 2 reasons, right? We like the quality of the board, and our supplier has Egger. Normally Egger Protect. We haven't had Egger Protect for ages. This is the Easy Peel one. It's got a coating on, so that you can peel it off there. It's still moisture resistant, same as all of them. But I suppose when you finish your job, you can peel it off. It'll protect it a bit from the rain. But if David comes over, he'll show you what I showed you the other day. The peel is actually longer than the joint. So when you're putting your board together, you can't actually see the joint, which is a bit of a problem for you. You need to know it's gone together successfully. Excuse me. And then what happens then? The glue forms up and it sticks to that, and then it's a lump and it's a bit of a problem. So it's the same quality board. It's a good quality board. It's just a little bit more. Bit more of a pain in the ass to fit, to be put it bluntly. But that's what's going to happen. It's 22mm thick. Which way do the boards go? That way. So I'll be starting at this side. So my first board will go down there. I'll put my cut there, and then my off cut will go over there, much like laying a laminate floor. So there it is. We're starting to get the base in now, and once we've got these boards down, I'll actually start on the walls today, hopefully, as well. So that's it. Right, I'm going to put the flooring down then, 22 mil. I'm going to start on the left-hand side. Right, so if Davey can see now, what's going to happen is, right, when let me get a pen out and I'll show you. Come here, Davey, please. Right, that's the base there, okay, that's your 4x3. Right, so what's going to happen now is my flooring, oh, let me put a shoe on there as well. Okay, so that's a shoe, that's your rod inside. Okay, right, so what's going to happen is my flooring's going to go on there, but what I want to do is bring my flooring so that it's in, all right, let me adjust that, so it's in line with the shoe size there. So what will happen then is my wall will get constructed, that will be the base plate for the wall, that'll be the leg, and then the OSB 11mm will be clad to the wall, but I'm going to cut it longer so it will fly past like that and conceal the shoe. So that's why I'm going to sit the flooring just slightly over so that it covers the shoe. So when I put my wall on, the OSB drops down, if that makes sense to you. So you can pass me, you just can't help me. All right. Right, so what I'm trying to do, Jen, because I know you've not been here and you don't know what's going on, I'm trying to prove that you can, you know, that it is doable on your own with the bare minimum of tools. So David, can you see that there, look? I've used the combination square there. Yeah, you see that? So when imagine there, that line there is the OSB, it will then glide past that there. I'll just nudge it a little bit forward like that. There we go. So what I'll do now is the same on this end here, because obviously that needs to be the same all round. There you go, David, can you see that side there? Cool, right, so what I'll do is I'm going to put a screw in this corner just so it will pivot. And then I'll go to this end here. Again, looking at this shoe, I mean, I've actually put that down cock on where it is there. So that's perfect position there for my first board. So what I'm going to do now is put another screw in there to secure that. And what I won't forget to do is mark up my floor joists, because once I put this next board in, I won't be able to see them anymore. Obviously we need to line them through. Right, numbers of screws, I want 4 in each line. All this is written down for you in the build pack. I will start putting the link on the description on YouTube, because people are asking for the link, and like a turkey I'm not putting it down. That snaps. No. So we're using 60mm screws. And we're also going to use that, is it 5 minute or 30 minute we've got, Jen? Bottle of each. So I don't know what's happened lately, but I'm struggling to get 5 minute glue as well. But to be fair, in this weather, it ain't going off in 5 minutes anyway. So what I'm going to do when I fit this floor, I'm going to nip off and buy another spirit level, because Davey's forgotten ours. He's obviously a very busy young man. Jen, have we got another battery? So obviously I want 4 down there. I'm not going to put the 1 in the end, and the reason for that being is because if I put that in there, it will compress that board to that joist, making getting the next sheet in that little bit more difficult. There's Jen's brand new battery. Can you zoom in on that, Davey? Look. Jen was a lucky girl at Christmas. Weren't you, Jen? Right, so what you want to do is just keep your eye where the shoe is, because there's a bolt there, and obviously we're not going to be able to screw down into that, a nut rather, and a bolt. If you're thinking about buying a build pack and you're not sure, then go on my Facebook group. there's a lot of people on there that have got them and successfully built them or are still building them. This build pack along with the videos will actually save you a lot of time and money and give you the confidence to actually build it yourself. Right, so that's that. What I'm going to do now as well, I'm going to cut this piece. So this is what I mean about the easy peel. Look, there's 5mm of easy peel sticking over the face of that, so we need to measure it properly. Push it tight there and compress it against the easy peel. What I'm looking at now, I'm looking at that shoe there. So I'm going to cut this so that it's just as long as the shoe, so that when I put my wall on, my OSB flies over. Right, so if you want to follow me over here, Davey. This is the end of the board. That one's cut in. It's this one. I'll just bring that down there so David can see it better. Again, you can. There's a couple of ways of measuring this, and I'll show you 2 ways. So let's say that's your measurement there. It doesn't have to be spot on and perfect, so you can get your measurement like that, hook your tape on there, like that, and that's one way of doing it. Or if that's your measurement there, you can scribe it down there like that. It's exactly the same, carry on. But for speed, I'm just gonna finger scribe it like that. It's as straight as what you need it to be on this occasion. So that board there, no, them 2 lines, that board there will fit over there. Then that board there will be my next row. So circular saw, I'm gonna keep reiterating this. Set the depth of the saw so that is just past, whoop, not wheelie. So it's just past the board, and then it won't cut your fingers off, it will just cut them. And of course, as I've said, we're going full safety on this. Right, so that's my board there. Which glue are we using, Dave? Is that one being used? Right, we'll go for a 5-minute one. So you can see there, I'm still walking on the joist, but I can walk across the insulation there without fear of it falling through. Jen, could you get me a lump hammer and Davey save some blocks of 4x3 over there?
The other side of the underneath it. No, the block.
Right, so it's cold at this time of year now. This has been in the van, so it is quite fluid still. If it's not, a little bit of warm water will sort that out for you. So I'm just gonna, maybe I've spoken too soon there, Davey. See, it's quite stiff, Davey. Cue all the jokes. Right, so that's good there. The ox stuff, I told you I'm going to give that away to one of the what? How am I going to give it away, Davey? What am I going to do? Right, I'm going. Yes, that's it. I'm gonna give it away to somebody on Instagram that watches these videos, comments, and tags a friend in it as well, because obviously this is what we're about. Right, lump hammer, that is part of the essential toolkit. I showed you all the tools the other day that we've used so far. This is the problem, look, with the easy peel, and I'll show you again at the end of every job what tools we use. I can't actually see the joint, so I'm just going to pull it back like that. Now what you find with these boards, whatever brand it is, you're not going to get a completely tight gap with all the best will in the world, because sometimes they're just not designed that way. So I'm just checking that, just pop it back a little bit. What I'll do now is get a few screws in there so it don't move. Again, I'm going to mark up where my joist is, because I don't want to put my next board down and not know where that actually is. The bit's gone there. Will you get us another bit, Jen, please? They do break quite a lot. I've tried loads of different ones. I don't actually know if it's the quality of the screw, the quality of the bit, or the fact that the driver is just a little bit too powerful and is going to always break it. But we do go through quite a few. Jen. Thank you. Yeah, like I said, I don't know if it's the driver, the quality of the screw, or the bit, but we've tried lots of bits and they all break. Right, so that's your first row down. Second row now, obviously we've got this offcut of that last board which we want to use. Now, I know some of you are going to be screaming that you have to put your joint on a joist, but what I'll say to you is it's 22mm thick. It ain't gonna go nowhere, trust me. Right, so again, like I said, you can't actually see the bloody joint, which is quite annoying. We might have to put some warm water on this glue, Jen, it's quite stiff. Yeah, will you get me some warm water in a bucket? So that's the problem with the easy peel there. Look, you can see, you can't, well, that's the problem with it, you can't see. The glue's really stiff now. Like I say, it's -1, which isn't that cold in the grand scheme of things, but certainly cold enough to affect this. And I'll discuss cold as well and the Paslode, because we will be using the Paslode, but I'm going to get the higher price on one. So a block of wood, it's an offcut of 4x3. You need a square section of wood rather than the CLS, because the round bit won't actually go on there, but I'm using it this way around. So a lump hammer there, just going to pull that easy peel. That's not bad there. So what I'll do, get that one across. I'm going to put a screw in the corner which will allow the board to pivot. And go back over this side then. And do the same over here. Get this joint to shut. Pull that back. I don't think we've got a bucket in van, Jen, I won't lie to you. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. So that's that board down. So I've got my offcut and then my offcut over there. See what I mean? Look, so I can't see where the joist is anymore, but because I put a line there, I can actually see where the joist is now. So what I'll do, I'll not forget that I need my last screw in that board. Like that. My line is there, so I know that is my joist, and then I can walk up there and visually see that my joist is running up there. Like that, and what I'll do then is go along, mark up where they are, and off I go. So again, it's time-lapse time. Right, so I've just done that bit and completely forgot to put the time-lapse on, so I'll do it on the next one, but I can assure you I've done it on my own. Right, so what's going on here then? So what can't you see? That there is the floor joist, and that there is the 4x3. And then obviously the floor joist comes that way and changes. So what you need to do is, as you're putting these boards down, is mark them up. Mentally you can see where it is, visually rather, you can see where it is. So mentally you need to keep a mark on that. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a line of screws down there. And then that will tie all that in. So I've got a line of screws going up that floor joist. Don't forget they've changed there, so I've got a line going that way now as well. And I'll do that as I go along. Another thing I've not shown you, got a handsaw please, Jen? And I'll just show you now. What you need to do is cut this insulation off, because if it has gone hard and you've left it some time, it's really sticky and you get any things that don't come off. If it has gone hard and you've left it some time, then it's going to keep your board up a little bit, which you don't want. Right, so what did I forget to show you on the first row? When you put the first row down, it is really important. Let me just cut this and I'll show you. It's really important that you get your first row right. And the reason for that being is that if your first row is nice and straight and tight, then obviously your next row will be as well, which I'm not going to be able to show you because I haven't got a spirit level. So I'm going to, Jen, will you get me a straight edge, please? Just see if you see that length of CLS there, look. See if it's straight. Have a look down it through. Let's see if it's straight. Is it straight? If it's not straight, look for something that's straight for me. So, I mean, that's your easy peel. What I'm going to do, I suppose it's great for when you're in houses and you're plastering and then it can be all peeled off, but in this occasion, it's all right. It does protect it from the rain, to be fair, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop a bit of visqueen over this. So that's my board in there, right? It's ready to go in, yeah? Jen's put the glue in the hot water because it is a bit too stiff to be squeezing out. Is that straight, yeah? Cool. How long's this been in there now? Right, so you can see that it's certainly more fluid, which is good. Still wants a bit of a squeeze, but if you leave it in the hot water too long, it turns into tea and it just pisses out everywhere. Right, so there's my glue. Right, what I need to show you then, and what I should have showed you on your first row, which is important, is that you get your first row straight. So I'll show you how we can do that. Right, what you're finding here, look, is you've got 2 rows of joist hangers there. So this board, to exaggerate it, wants to sit like that. So it's just a little bit tricky to put in sometimes. You see it bouncing out. Give it a belt, get it in. Right, what my problem is now is, so that there is sticking up. Has it gone in? Right, so I'll cross all these problems on my own, because if I get Jen or David to help me, then it sort of defeats the object. But you can see that's gone together there. So what you need to do is make sure that that board there is in line with that board there, which it is. So what I'll do now, I'm going to put a screw in there. I know that's, I'm going to spike that because I know it's there and it's right on the joint. Well, that's gone in. I'm going to drive this one across now, and see that's still sticking up. Right, so imagine this is your first row, if you will. And get yourself a spirit level, preferably, because you know it's dead straight. And I'm going to hold that like that. Get me another length of timber, please. That's like a dog's back leg. It's Davey's fault, this, because he's not brought a level. Right, that one's straight. Right. So what we're going to do is just put that down there, like that. You can see there now, so I'm holding it to that board, yeah? So that board there is dead in line with that board. Can you see how it's running straight through? Which is what you want. A level is the best thing to use for it, but you want them 2 boards dead running through with each other like that. And then what will happen then is, once your first row is down, you're off. So what I have stupidly done is pull the easy peel off, and obviously I'd marked it up and now I can't see. So what I'm looking for there, I know there is my centre 4x3, so I'm just going to go down there, screw that, them screws will power straight through the joist hangers. Feel a little resistance on that one. If it goes in and it don't go in past the board, you know you've hit the rod. Right, so That's that board completely screwed. Jen, can I have another box of screws, please? Thank you. Like Paul Daniels' assistant, aren't you? Do you know who Paul Daniels is? Come on, come here. Do you know who Paul Daniels is?
No, that's magic.
Right, so she does know who Paul Daniels is. Paul Daniels, he didn't listen, did he? He set his circular saw too deep and he cut his finger off. That's a true story. I suppose he died before I started building these though. Anyway, I digress. Right, so I can see where my screws are. I know my line is there somewhere. I've got 2 inches to hit, so I should be on target. Another bit, please. You'll know if you're not on target because what will happen is the screw will go through the chipboard and then it'll just start spinning. What I won't forget to do is get my marker and mark them up. So you might be able to see, David, can you see that board? It's just, can you see it's just high there? You can see it, yeah, it's just raised up. And nothing, another bit please, it's nothing to worry about. The reason why it's raised up is you've got double joist hangers on there and all them twist nails, so they're just holding it up a little bit. But what will happen now is this floor will pull it down. Pull it down and it'll all be good. So we know, let me get my pen out and I'll show you. We know here is my 4x3. David, do you want to give Jen money or have you given her already? Right, so my 4x3 is approximately there. So what I'm going to do now is put a row of screws in here. That will start to pull that down, but obviously I'm not going to put a screw in the end because I still need to get that next board in. I've had some lovely comments on these videos, so I thank you all for that. I'm going to try, in fact I am going to do the full build step by step, and hopefully you'll be able to go home and build these yourself to a really good standard. I honestly believe, and I've said it right from the start, that we're building these to our best standard possible, and if you follow this you're going to have no issues whatsoever. Right, so that's that. We're going to have some breakfast now, and then I'll put it on time lapse and I'll remember to turn it on, and we'll finish this rest of this floor and then we can start doing the walls. There's your base finish. So we've got the insulation in, 100mm PIR insulation. Then we've put on this 22mm Aga flooring. It's got that easy peel on. It's a bit of a pain in the arse, but it is where it is at this time because we can't get Aga Protect. We've used the circular saw. That's one of the power tools. We've only used 2 power tools so far, the angle grinder and the circular saw. And then you've got these, the drills, which I told you that you need to buy as a kit really. The impact driver, 60mm screws, 5-minute glue, which we've warmed up in the hot water because it's cold and it doesn't flow. A bit of the offcut of 4x3 to tap it home, and of course the ox lump hammer, which I'm giving away. And the expanding foam if you needed it, and the handsaw. What do we use hand saw? Oh, the handsaw for cutting the insulation. So that's that. That's the basin, and that's gone down quite well. I'm happy with that. So what's going to happen now? I'm going to go off and go get spirit level. Right, David? Because David left him in container. Right, so I've took the coating off, the easy peel coating. Obviously you can see where the expanding 5-minute glue's come up. It's polyurethane glue and it expands as it sets. I've just left a screw out there, Jen. Will you pass the impact away? A bit snapped off and I've not drove it in properly. You can use a shovel to get this up. Or the back of an old saw. It's quite effective as well. Just slide it down. I mean, you need to get it up anyway, so you might want to let it go off properly. This is still a little bit soft, but this time of year, takes quite a while to go off. But what I'll do is I'll go around and clean that glue off, and then we're going to start on the walls then. I've actually shot myself right in the foot here, so what I said I was going to do, no power tools, which I'm not going to. I'm going to use a bare minimum. So for the walls and the roof and the timber framing, we were going to bring a Paslode and then tell you how much it is to hire a Paslode so you could use one, but I've actually forgotten the Paslode. So David forgot the level, I forgot the Paslode, so I'm going to have to hand nail these now. So the lovely assistant over there is stripping the nails down one at a time. Davey and Jen will carry on stripping them nails down, so I've got a box of 63s and a box of 90s, and I'm after going to hand nail these walls, or at least hand nail as many as I can before it's home time. All right, so that's a little bit of a fail for me. Right, flooring's down. David, John, look at this lot. So I talked to you about it being millimetre perfect with the threaded bars. So I'll bring out and bought a new level. There you go. Yeah, and same on the back. Now, it's not the end of the world if it's slightly out, and I'm going to explain why in a minute. Yeah, as long as you're somewhere near, like that, which is dead near, then it's all good. Right, what we're going to do, we're going to build the walls. Right, so that's the building, that's the back wall. So we're going to build the back wall first. That elevation over there has got 2 windows on. The front elevation there has got the bifolds. Jen is patiently stripping the nails because I've forgotten the nail gun. So these 2 walls, this wall here is fence wall, that wall there is fence wall. They're just straight blank walls. Right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to build a stud frame like that. I'm going to build it on the deck, and then I'm going to use the OSB 11mm over there to square up the wall. And the way I'm going to do that is my OSB will be longer than the wall, so I'll get my first point on there. I'll show you this in the video, and then I'll fix it to that there. It'll hang over the bottom a little bit like that, and then I'll kick that wall there so it's dead right with that right angle there on that sheet. And what that'll mean then is when I put that sheet on and that sheet and that sheet, and then when they're all butted up and I carry on with what I'm going to explain it visually as well, then that'll mean that wall is a perfect rectangle, and they will be 90 degrees, all them points there. So when I stand it up on my level floor, I won't actually have to level it that way, because it will be a perfectly rectangle sat on a perfectly level floor. So that means it won't be racked either way like that. The only way I'll have to plumb it is back towards the fence or to the front of the house. And once I've got this wall in, because this wall is perfectly plumb that way as well, when I lock them together on that corner there, it means both them walls will be perfectly plumb, and they will perfectly plumb in this corner going that way as well. And the same with these walls as well, so it will all tie into each other. So the base is important. You get your base as level as you can. If it's slightly out, it's not going to make a visual difference to you, you know, but you want to take a little bit of time with your rods, setting them up, using your level, turning your level every single time, like I said, in case your level's slightly out. Or unlike me, you've got countless levels because you forget them, and stuff happens, doesn't it, David? We just forget stuff, don't we? Yeah. I'm old, you're young, you've no reason to be forgetting stuff. Anyway, so what I also forgot as well was the Paslode, didn't I, Jen? That's why Jen is now stripping nails. What was I going to say to you? Right, so I'm going to build the wall. Right, so we've got the top and the bottom plate and the top plate. That's them there. They're obviously too long. They need cutting to size. So again, we've got no chop saw, miter saw, compound saw, whatever you want to call it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to measure the back there, and I'm going to transfer the mark on here. What I'm going to do at all, I'm just going to write this mark down, because obviously I'm filming at the same time and you forget stuff, don't you? So rather than going back and measuring it all the time, I'm just going to write it down there as well. Right, what I want now, I'm going to go away from the Paslode, it's on my mind now. I'm going to wait for that and go back to the pencil, because obviously what I need is a nicely measured timber, rather than using the like 2-3 mil thickness of the Sharpie pen. I need a nice sharp point, so I've got the old pencil sharpener out. And then I'm going to measure this. I'm going to get my speed square and my circular saw, and then I'm going to cut these head and bottom, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to set them out for the uprights as well. So like I explained before, I've not actually used the speed square before, ever, for the purpose that we're using it for now, which may sound quite bizarre, but it's true. I suppose when you've got a chop saw there, miter saw, whatever you want to call it, you stay away from that. Right, so I'm babbling now, aren't I? Yeah, did you then, Jen? I thought I heard you. Right, so I've got a new one. I sent off for that. I wanted to use that before previously. Obviously, the DeWalt one was camouflaged on the black floor, so we've got a Milwaukee one now, which is very nice. Just another little point while I'm at it before I forget. Jen has got a TikTok account. What's it called? Jenny, is it Jenny Joyner or Jen Joyner? Jen, she doesn't even actually know. Right, I'll put a link on my description, and if you'd like to follow her on TikTok, that might be quite interesting for you. What's wrong with your face? Try to promote you. Right, so I've set my two timbers. They're dead on with each other there. Well, they will be in a second. There we go, dead on with each other. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go along and I'm going to mark 400 centres. Now, what normally happens is you get your plasterboards there 1.2, so you'll have a fixing every, what the hell? You'll have a fixing every 400, which is great. But my OSB, they have come this time, and they're 4 foot, which is obviously imperial, and not metric, which is what we wanted. So I'm going to have to cut the OSB down. But there you go, they're marked up. Now for clarity, I'm just going to write base and top on there, just so you can see which is which. So that'll be the base there, the base plate. That will be the head. Put that there. And then in there we want the uprights, the studs. So I know what my stud measurement is. I'm not going to give out measurements on this because, you know, you're going to build your own thing at your own size, and if you want to build under the 2.5 permitted development, then really, you know, get a build pack and it's all worked out in there for you to the millimetre. Right, so I know that I'm going to have to cut a load of studs now. I'm going to have to cut 9, so I'm going to get myself 9 ready, and then we're going to measure them and cut them with speed square, and then off we're going to go with the claw hammer. Yep. So we've got the bottom plate, we've got the head plate, we've got the uprights as well, the studs. So like I said before, I've managed to forget the Paslode. So I'm hand nailing, unfortunately. What I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how to nail them. We're going to carry on with what we normally do, and we normally put 3 in anyway. So get the first one started. Right, so I've got my hand on it, I'm keeping it flush there, look, and it's flush there obviously because this floor is level. It's bouncing there because that's what's going to happen. And once it gets a grip of it, you'll be good. Keep dragging it back. Put my foot there now, just to stop it. So what I will do for the next part of it is put it on time lapse, because you don't want to see me putting, what do we estimate, 54 nails per frame? You don't want to see me putting 54 nails, but for clarity and to show you that we are doing it by hand, I'll put it on time lapse and we'll go from there. So the 90mm Paslode nails that we've had to strip down, obviously you might buy yourself a load singular nails. I am going to tell you how much costs to hire a Paslode a week, but obviously some of you are building these over quite a long period of time, so having a Paslode on hire for that length of time would not be cost effective. So you've got 2 options there: hand nail it, buy a new Paslode, sell it on, we probably lose maybe 150, 200 pounds on it, or buy a second-hand one off marketplace, and you can probably resell it for the same price you bought it. But a Paslode is essential if you have one, or like us, leave it in the container. Right, Davey, get it on the time lapse. So there's the frame, it's hand nailed, as will the sheets be as well. We've used the framing hammer. Yeah, proper fail. Right, so they're 400 centres, which is perfect for our plasterboards. Unfortunately, the OSB 11mm has arrived and it's imperial. Can you see that, Davey? It's a 4 foot, it's actually slightly bigger than 4 foot. You see? Yeah, whereas normally they'd be metric, which would be 1.2. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the circular saw and I'm going to rip it down to metric. Again, I've set the depth of the saw. I'm now going to bring the blade in to meet that. I'll just give it a little test. Right, slightly out on that. Don't forget, right, before you criticise and stuff, we're setting up for filming here as well, so sometimes things don't go quite right, all right? Right, so I'm going to rip that down to 1.2. So that now is metrically the right width for what I need. Right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark up where my timbers are. I'm going to flip it over, and the reason why I'm flipping it over is because I've now created a side with loads of splinters in. I'm going to run my finger down it now, and they're all going to stick in my hand. So that's why I've flipped it over. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to gauge 400 down it, which is, of course, is the centre of my first stud. Just so that I know where I'm nailing will be into a stud. And then going to gauge 400 down there as well. Again, that'll be the next stud. And of course the last stud over on that side, I'll be able to see anyway. I'm going to drop that down. So this wall is going to stand up like that. So this first sheet is going to go over here, and that's where I'm going to square the wall off, because my 400 centres were taken from that side. If I do it on that side, it won't tally up for me. I did start that side, didn't I? Yes. And what I want is, I want my OSB sheet to drop down past this wall and cover that shoe. Only for the reason is, when we put a breathable membrane on this, then any moisture that does sit on the wall at any point will then run down the breathable membrane and run onto the floor, rather than run onto the floor or into the building, which of course is not what we want. So I know that I've got 4 inches, 100 mil or so in the thickness of the floor, give or take, without the flooring. So I'm then going to transfer that mark onto here, and then that there will be the height of the sheet I want. So obviously that needs ripping down as well. Now, there's 2 ways you can do this. You can mark it and cut it off now, or you can nail it on, mark it and cut it off afterwards. But what I want to do as well, I want to nail along that bottom stud there, so that it's all fixed tightly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to measure to the centre of the stud, and again transfer the mark on there. 100 mil rule there, Davey. Transfer the mark on there, and then I know then that is the line where I'm going to put my bottom row of nails. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah. Right. Okay. Oh, am I talking now? Does that make sense? Right. So this sheet's going to go on. This is a right angle. We know this is a right angle because that's a machine factory finished board. That there is a right angle. That there is also a right angle because we squared it and we've run it down at 1.2. So I'm going to get this sheet now. I'm going to lift it over and I'm going to drop it down into place where it wants to go. Like that. David, do you want to come around this corner, mate, please? Is it LA63's, Jen? Thank you. Debbie McGee, that's what we're going to call you. Debbie McGee. Paul Daniels, assistant. Yeah? Right, so I've got that there, square with the corner of that wall. Now, in the build packs, I tell you to put the frame up first and square the frame and then OSB it, simply because it was aimed at people working on their own and obviously health and safety, trying to lift walls and stuff like that. But this is the easiest way if you've got a friend, or if you're quite confident in lifting it yourself. Right, that there now has nailed that to that. That sheet will pivot whichever way I want it to go. David, just stay on looking at that corner if you can get close up there. Like, go around there, that's it. Right, so I can pivot the sheet like that because I've now put that nail in. Right, so David, get low down in that corner there, please, mate, but point this way. Is the sun out your way? We're fighting with the winter sun here because it's really low coming over that fence. Right, so what I'm going to do now, you see there, look, David. Yeah, so that's wrong. So what we want to do, look, is get that dead in line with that there, which is good now. I'm going to put a fixing in there. I'm nailing it, what the hell. Right, and then I'm going to work my way up there. You see, I've just knocked that sheet in there like that, just so that it's flush. We want to get a fixing. If I were nailing this with nail gun, they'd be all over the place, but I'm looking at about every 300. of course, if you've got a nail gun, you can go to town on it and fix it to death, can't you? So, right, when I'm working my way up here now, that means that that leg is dead square with that timber there. So what we need to do now is, yeah, this is falling lovely. Can you see that there, look, Davey? Yeah? So that means that that frame is running out and it's not square with that panel, which obviously we want it square with that sheet. So what I'm going to do now is just push that like that. Can you see it, Davey, going in? Come in a bit closer, mate. You see it there, look? So what I'm trying to do is get that there so it's dead flush. Which is there now. So what we've got now, we've created a right angle with that wall. Which is lovely. So what will happen now is I'm going to go down, I'm going to nail them rows there. What I'm going to do with this middle one, look, if you just want to come and look here, David, I'm just going to, see, sometimes these timbers might have a bit of a bend in them. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to tap it across so it's nice there like that. Tie that in there, so that's good now. So you can see there, look, that's my first line. It's the centre of that timber. I want to put a row of nails along there. That is where my cut-off will be. And what I'm going to do with these nails here is just angle them back ever so slightly, because what you don't want is a nail to come out here, because it will lift your wall off the floor, which will stop it being square. That's the problem with hand nailing, try to do it fast. So what I'll do now, I'll just work my way down. Like I said, every 300, that line now indicates where my timber is below, which is ideal for me. Gives me the ability to see through the OSB and know that I'm nailing in the correct place. The OSB creates the rigidity for your building. Now, timber prices have gone up considerably. They're starting to come down as well, which is good, but you don't want to scrimp and do away with not having OSB on your building, because it does provide the rigidity to the full building. We already put that centre one in there, that's why I've not just nailed that. And what will happen, these buildings are outside in your garden, they're a timber construction, they will move with the seasons, and if you haven't got the OSB, then you're going to get potentially a lot of movement. Don't forget, if you're watching these and you're enjoying them, please subscribe and like, and if you've got a comment, drop a comment and I'll try and answer it, and if you're going to leave a nasty one, that's fair enough as well. What I've got now is quite a lot of actual builders watching these, and obviously they like to criticise, but you know, take it on the chin. Right, so that there is my first sheet fully nailed by hand, 63mm ring cut nails. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to rip that sheet down there to 1.2, I'm going to put my 400 centres on it, I'm going to fix it, and then I'm going to rip my last sheet down to the right size, fix that as well, and then I'll show you what's the next process. So it's time to go and time lapse again, David, thank you. So there's my wall. We know it's right, it's a rectangle, we're happy with that. It's all been nailed up, 63mm nails. So there's my cut off point. That's why I've not cut it off up there. I'm going to cut it off now and just run the saw straight along. There we go. It doesn't have to be perfect. Because it's all concealed, and it's simply to allow the building, any moisture on it, to just drain off naturally onto the floor and not down onto the building. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just get that off there like that, and what I'm also going to do then, I'm just going to check underneath. If Davey just drops down, he might be able to see, and make sure that there are no nails that have come through the OSB and are going to hold this wall off the floor, which there, we're happy with that, so that's good. Move that out of the way now. Right, so we're going to put some breathable membrane on it. Now, a breathable membrane is basically a roofing felt. It's moisture resistant, but it does allow the building to breathe, so therefore it must go up the correct way, which is righting up like that. This is more than sufficient, whatever brand you choose to use. This one's from Toolstation. We buy 2 different size rolls, and the reason because of that is the 1.5, and then we use the 1 metre to cover over that as well. It gives us plenty of overhang. So that's why we buy 2 different ones. Right, next on the tool list, staple gun. Now, you're going to need the staple gun. You could nail this on, wouldn't be a problem. A couple of nails, hold it into place, would be all good. But you are going to need a staple gun for the moisture barrier. That goes on the inside. So I'm just going to pull that taut like that. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut that off. I'm going to cut it off pretty flush. Doesn't have to be great, because when we build the side walls, I'll leave the felt longer on the side walls and it'll wrap around, and then that will tidy that all up and get membrane completely around it. So again, like I said, I'm going to jump onto the 1 metre roll now. You don't have to buy the 2 sizes. We started off using the metre roll and just putting 3 layers on, and then trying to cut the cost down a little bit, try and reduce costs. We dropped it down to 1.5 and a 2 metre. So, sorry, 1.5 and a 1 metre. So there we go. Let's sit that on there. So don't forget, this is the top of the wall. And then pull that flush with that. Get that there. And I cut that off. If it's a windy day, it's a pain, trust me. So just going to put a couple more in there. There's no wind whatsoever today, so it's not a problem, but when it is windy, this is blowing all over, so you might want to put some weight on it just to hold it down while you carry on doing what you're doing. Right, so that's that side felted. We're happy with that. Staple gun, decent ones, about 30 quid I think they are now. Right, slate battens, or roofing battens, whatever you want to call them. This particular build is getting clad in cement board. Now the customer wants the board vertically. Now, if we put it vertically, so let's say that's the back of the wall, yeah, that's the bottom. Yeah, that's the bottom. So we want the cladding to run vertically like that. So therefore, that means we need to put our slate battens horizontally, like that, to carry it. But if we put them horizontally, then there is no airflow. So the air will go up there and it will get trapped on this first batten, because then it's clad over the top, so it won't go anywhere. So what we need to do is double batten it. Now that means working backwards. So our final coverage will be our cement boards, and they will be vertical. So we need horizontal battens to carry the boards, and then we need vertical slate lats to carry the horizontal, which will carry the vertical, if that makes sense. And then you'll have double airflow, which is what it's all about, allowing the boards, whatever kind of cladding you're going to, dry out sufficiently. So that's what we're going to try with that, and not try, that's what we're going to do with that. Right, so with that in mind, what I need to do is cut myself my vertical battens first. Now I know the length of the OSB, so I'm going to cut these battens to the same length as that. And that's them cut. And what I'm going to do now is, I've already marked these up, so, and I know I've got 9 studs, so that means I need 9 battens. So that will give me my 9. Right, so that's my 9 battens. Right, so how are we going to fix them? Again, I have no Paslode today, so we're going to hand fix them. Right, you want a good fixing on these, because you're going to double batten it. You don't want it wobbling about when it's double battened. So I'm going to put them approximately every 400, and I'll explain how I'm going to line them up in a second. I'm going to revert back to the box of 90s that they've prepared for me. I'll definitely be bringing a Paslode the next time. Right, David, if you want to come over here, mate, and just have a look, you might have to get low down just so you can get out of this sun. Probably about there, mate, I think. Right, this is the top of the wall. So what I want my slate batten to be flush with the top of the wall, which it is there, yeah? So what I'll do is, I know there's a timber there because I can see the nails. So I'm going to fix that one like that. I'm then going to fix this one. I'm going to look down and get them approximately parallel, but I can see there, that is where my nails are, so that is where the timber is. And I'm going to work my way along doing that. So for speed and for clarity, I'm just going to show you. So imagine I've gone all along. We will put time lapse on again. Imagine I've done all them and I've just put one nail in the top. So the batten will quite happily pivot. If you just want to go down there now, Davey, you'll see what I'm going to do now. Davey's now going to just have a little peep under here and he can see. I know the end one is good. So as long as I'm right on my OSB, I know I'm right, yeah? So I'm going to nail that one like that. So if I carry on nailing that there, I know it's fixed at the bottom, fixed at the top, so it's on the timber all the way. So this one now, I'm going to look down. You see the nails, Davey? Yeah. Under there. Yeah, so that's in the centre of that, and we know the stud is there. So I'm happy with that. So I'm going to put a nail in there. Now, the reason why I've moved that far up is I don't want the nail to come out through that OSB because it'll stop it going on the floor. So what I can do now, look, to exaggerate it, like, so that's where I've put it. I can see my nails there. I'm going to centralise that over the top of them nail holes. And I know full well now that them battens are directly above the 4x2 uprights. And if I go down there then, I can get a good fixing wherever I nail. Again, I'm going to nail every approximately 400. And I know then that 90mm nail is going straight through that OSB into the CLS below, which gives it a good solid fixing. Again, ties everything together, ties it all in, and we're good. So, time lapse, Davey. I'll get these. Right, so they're my horizontal battens now. I've cut them to the length of the wall. I'll explain further about the battens on the side and how we're going to get them to come round. So again, we're looking for 400 spacings. If you try and remember that, like 400 centres, 400 spacings, depending what you're actually doing, is where you want to go, because there's good fixings on that and plenty of airflow then as well. So what I'm going to do with my bottom one, I'm going to fix it 150mm up from the bottom. Again, 90mm nail, because we want it to go right through and get a good solid fixing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work my way down there. I am going to fix them all. I'm just trying to not bore you and get it somewhere into a position where you know actually what's actually happening. Right, so that'll be my first one. My next one will be 400 spacing there as well, like that. I'll go across, I'll nail them all up. So let's imagine that I already have. They're all nailed there. The top one won't be quite 400, but less is great, more is too much. So let's imagine they're all nailed, right? So you come to put your cladding on. That's your cladding, whatever cladding you're going to put on. So that's your cladding there, right? So your cladding's gone on there, you fix your cladding, you've fully clad your wall. Now air can now travel up there. It can travel up there, it can travel that way, that way, that way. And it can go throughout the full wall, which is what you want. And then when this either timber or cement board or anything like that gets wet from the outside, from the weather, then it will still be allowed to dry out naturally, because if it can't dry out naturally, then you're going to have a problem with it long term. So there you go, that's why you double batten it, and there is your airflow. So what I'm going to do now, back to time lapse, I'm going to have 400 spacings in them, I'm going to fix every single one, and then we should be ready then to erect the wall. Our wall is now constructed. We know that it's a rectangle because we've used the squareness of the sheets to create the rectangle. We know our floor is level. So what we're going to do when we stand this up now, like I say, it'll be plumb left and right. It just needs plumbing backwards. So now might be the time where you might want to get a friend round, or your partner or something like that, I don't know. Anything bigger than this, I certainly won't be trying it on my own, although it is doable. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this over here to a position now. You can see the CLS there. Can you see it, David, the 4x2? Yeah. So what I want that OSB to drop down there. But what I don't want, and then I'll have to call, John? I'll have to call Jen and Davey into play. My mind's not with it, I do apologise. If I do drop it down here, because I may struggle. But let's see, let's go for it. So what I want the OSB to drop down there like that, and the CLS to sit on there. And once I'm in that position there, then I'm gonna get in a position where I've got some screws ready, my impact's ready, because I know from experience if I put 2 screws in this bottom timber here now, it will sit upright and that will secure it. Okay, so we're gonna go for this now. Right, I don't know what the wall weighs, it's quite heavy-ish. So what I've done, I've got 2 little offcuts of insulation there, because obviously I don't want to trap my fingers, so I'm just going to pop them under there like that. Now if this falls, it's only going to land on there and my fingers will be good. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to lift it up a little bit further and I'm going to get it onto these trestles. Now if you haven't got any trestles, you can get something else. I don't know what you want to get. I don't believe it. Do you believe it? I don't believe it. Or you can use something else. Jen's just watching now. Are you waiting for it to be a disaster, or? You are? Right, so I'm in a position now where I've not created too much stress on my back. It's there, it's ready to go. I'm going to check now it hasn't slipped forward. I think when that goes up, it'll probably just catch, so I'll have to nudge it forward a little bit in the position it's in. I'll get myself a few screws, because I know, like I say, from experience, put a couple of screws in this, it won't go anywhere then, unless it's a really windy day, which it's not. Impact driver's ready. So it's in a position there, it's actually the OSB's sat. I'm just going to nudge it forward a little bit. It's like the raising of the Titanic, isn't it? Right, that noise is the OSB rubbing on the floor, so we know it's dead tight, isn't it? Yeah, we're happy with that. Right, what I've failed to do is bring my trusty lump hammer over. So you can see the wall now, look. Completely let go of that. There's nobody behind it. Jen's there. Davey's on the camera, obviously. The reason why it stood up and it's not falling over is the floor is level. The bottom of them timbers are cut square, so the sole plate is sat on the uprights and they're nice and level as well. So, you know, I've managed to get it up. I could physically walk away from this now and not worry about it too much, but if Davey just comes over here, you can just see the position I've got the wall in there, Davey, look. It's about, well, I know they're 38mm, so it's 38mm too far over. So I'm just going to send it down that way. I just got my shoulder on it, just in case it does decide it wants to go. There, I'm happy with that. Again, the wall's fine, it's not going nowhere. I'm just going to look at the bottom of it. Dave, you might want to stand off there, because if it does fall, you won't provide as much resistance as the trestles do. Right, I'm just going to go behind it now and just nudge it and make sure that it's pushed tight up to that chipboard flooring, which it is. Find my screws. I'm going to pop one screw in there. Right, that's not going anywhere now. I'm quite happy to walk on there. I'll have a look at this side again. Make sure it's pulled tight back to the wall. You just heard it go then. Put a screw in there. And like I said, that now is secure. It needs securing properly now. So what I'm going to do, let's imagine, you know, your floor's a little bit up and down because you haven't put all your nails down properly. You know, you've not made a greater job as you could have done. So I'm going to go around each bay and put a screw in. That will then pull the sole plate down to the floor. You pass a couple of screws, please, Jen? Just 2. Thank you. Jen, do you want to go get us that little note and that spade bit out of the van, please? Right, so that's fixed down to there. I'm happy with that. Now, what could happen now? A screw, you can snap a screw, give it a quick tap with a hammer. Let me find a hammer. David, did you put them where? Where, mate? Ah, thank you. Right, so some of you be going, why don't you use screws for your studs? 2 reasons. They snap under pressure, their shear strength, and the fact we only bought a couple of boxes of screws because we were going to bring the Paslode, but we didn't. So, screws versus nails. Just tried to screw in a nail then. Right, so screw versus nails. Right, I'm going to put them screws in there just to pull that down. So they're not a bad quality screw, these, to be fair. There, so that's snapped after 2 little hits. So whereas your nail, it'll just bend until the friction creates it to warm up, and then it will snap. So your nail's a better fixing, stronger than your screw. That's why we don't use screws all the time. We use screws here and there where we need to, but what's the word, David? He's not sure. I don't know. I never could handle English. Right, we use nails because of their shear snapping strength. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go down and put a series of nails in there. Like I said, if we had the Paslode now, I would proper nail this to death. But I will explain the cost of the Paslodes, the reason why I think you should acquire one for your build. But as you can see, you can do it by hand, although it takes a lot longer this way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bend that nail to 1 inch of its life. Going to go down there, going to nail that up, and then I'm going to talk about the tools we've used today and a few other little issues as well. A few little things I want to talk about. So Davey's going to, what are you going to do, Davey? Prop it up on that. Do you know what? You can just stop it there, mate. Nobody wants to see me nail these in anyway. So that's securely fixed now to the base. Now, as I said before, because the base is level, then because that wall is a perfectly right angle, we don't need to level it that way. And I'll show you, Davey, if you want. Jen, can I have the level, please? If you want to come round that side there, Davey, watch that sun, mate. Thank you. Right, so as I said, if the floor is level, which it is, and that's a right angle because we've used the OSB to square the frame, then when I put that level on there, because it's fixed tight down, can you see that, Davey? I don't know if you can. Yeah, right, so there, of course, the wall is plumb that way, like I said it would be. Just stand there now, Davey, just keep tight to that wall and then the sun will keep out of your eyes. So we've got the issue now of the wall. Obviously it wobbles, but it won't wobble when it's finished, but it's not plumb that way. So when we put this wall up now, it will be the same thing as well. It will be perfectly plumb left and right, but obviously it won't be coming in. So because it's perfectly plumb left and right, we'll pull that wall tight to it, fix it, and then that means that corner will be dead on. And then what we'll do then, we'll just rack this side, get the level on there. But what we're doing now, we're going home. We've got some stuff that we need to see to, so I'm going to then get this wall plumb. Can you see how it's not plumb there, David? Look. Yeah. So what we're looking for is to get it completely plumb. Simply because, unfortunately, we won't be in tomorrow either. But if the wind does pick up, we don't want it blowing it and that. So how are we going to do that and how are we going to get it plumb? We're going to use these 2 bits of timber. It doesn't matter what you use, I suppose, any kind of offcuts you might have left over. But if you bought a build pack, you won't have any offcuts, so that might be an issue. Right, so I've cut 45s on the bottom of there. Don't know if you can see them. Can I have some screws, please, Jen? Sky News. Breaking news, Liam forgets his Paslode. Thank you. Right, so we know we're not far off with that, so what I want to do is, see how I'm vertically fixing that, Davey? Yeah, you can see that kind of. So I'm going to get it in a position. I'm going to pull it just a little bit to me away from the wall so I can move the wall. There we go. Right, and then what I'm going to do now, I'm going to get a screw started in there, like that. And then I'm going to put my glasses on so I can see it's plumb. Don't know if you want to get in right behind my shoulder, Davey, so you can see this. Put my level on that stud there now. I can see it's slightly out. Can you see that, Davey? Yeah. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to...
It's focusing on your glasses.
Sorry, maybe you want to go over... Can you go over my head now? Look, come over my head. Oh, from that side maybe, Davey. I don't know, mate. Right, can you see it?
Yeah, you can now.
Right, so I'm going to get it as plumb as what I can... There, we're pretty good on that, aren't we? There. So that's fixed, and now you can see the rigidity in that wall now. That is not going to go anywhere. I'm now going to drop a second one on this side. Like I say, we won't be in tomorrow. If the wind does pick up, then it ain't going to blow this wall over. Again, I'm going to fix that exactly the same way. Vertically fix that down to the floor. Keep it away from the wall a little touch. And what I'll do when we come back to build the other walls, I'll take these out simply so that we can build our walls on the floor for the ease of building, really. Again, start the screw off. Davey's going to have a look at that now. Just push it across. Is that right, Davey? Can you see that? Yeah. And there we go. So that wall is now solid. It's not going anywhere. We can leave that for as long as we want and it's not an issue. My next issue is we're going to get some visqueen. There's some visqueen left on the roll, isn't there, Jen? I did see some somewhere. And we're just going to protect this floor, just if it does rain, or if nothing else, to keep the frost off it so when we come back it's workable. Right, what fixings and screws and tools did we use today? Again, we kept to a bare minimum. I'll show you now while Jen finds this. If Davey looks there, we've just put a bit of visqueen over that just to protect it from just two reasons. It's not supposed to rain this week, but if it does, just to keep the floor dry. And secondly, just to keep the frost off, because it'll be like an icy rink when we come back. Right, tools what we've used today. We've used impact driver, of course, to screw the 60mm screws in. Foam gun, you will need a foam gun because if your insulation's not that good, you need to tidy up any holes you've got. What do we do then? We put the flooring down, didn't we? So we used the impact driver. We used the club hammer, the ox club hammer. I'm going to give all the ox stuff away. The tape measure probably won't last the job, but I'll send you it anyway. Might be worth something to you in the future. Who knows? Lump hammer, tape measure. So obviously you need tape measure. That's crucial. Pencil, pen, stuff like that. We used the speed square for cutting the studs. We use the hammer for putting the nails into the studs. We use the circular saw for ripping down the OSB. Staple gun, again you'll need that for when you put your vapor barrier up. Staple down the breathable membrane onto the wall. Like I said, you could nail it down if you want, but you will need one of these as the job goes along. Spirit level, although don't actually need that much now, because you know when you did your base, you got your base perfect. So as you've seen there, the spirit level, you still, you know, you can still use it, but when we put all them walls up, you'll only see us really put the spirit level on the front wall, because when each wall is correct, it will tie in and it will all be all plumb and nice. And that, we'll go along and explain that as we go along. So that's all the tools. So what we're looking at there is a minimum toolkit. I mean, obviously it's going to cost you a few £100s, but what you got to bear in mind is you're going to spend a few £1,000s on building this with your materials alone, so it's worth investing in it. Stuff you can get rid of. If you're only ever going to build this once in your life and you think, well, I'm never going to use a circular saw again, get it sold, get it on marketplace, you'll sell it straight away, no problem. Where are we going to go next, Jen? What was the next thing we're going to talk about? Right, where's the little note? Okay, so we used the 25mm DeWalt tri-flue speed bit to drill the 4x3s. Now, a guy, read it out to me because I don't have glasses. What's his name?
Jamie B.
So Jamie B sent me this through the post. Always nice to receive something through the post. Well, as long as it's a nice thing anyway, isn't it?
Read it?
Yeah, Jen, read it. Well.
Right, a gift note from Jamie B. Little shout out in your next vid, smiley face. A thank you for helping people with videos. For the beams for the threaded bar with these. For the beams for the threaded bar with these. That makes no sense. For the beams for the shredded bar.
For the beams for the threaded bar. For the 4x3, like you put the threaded bar through, yeah?
Yeah.
With these.
You won't go back to those awful ones you use.
Right, so what you're saying is the tri-flute DeWalt speed bit is not as good as the Bosch Expert bit. So I haven't brought the drill, so what we're going to do is do a fair comparison. He may well be correct. I mean, obviously he sent it for a reason. So we're going to get 2 new batteries, the same drill, the same piece of wood. We're going to look for no knots, and we're going to put it to a speed test. So we will do that next time we come, because I will bring the drill. So like I say, Jamie B,
Yes.
why are you confused?
I'm still trying to read it.
Okay. So Jamie B sent this through the post, and I thank you for that, Jamie. And we certainly will give it a try. And let's, you know, if you are right, then that'll be the way forward. But we shall see. We shall see, won't we? Yeah. So if you've enjoyed watching this, it's day 3. We have to get off. I've got some issues at home that I need to deal with, and we won't be in tomorrow. But I am going to continue doing this series. So what day's tomorrow? Is it Wednesday? Wednesday. So we'll be back Thursday. We'll get the rest of the walls up for you, and we might even, and we'll get the steel up. So there's the steel there. It's a 160 by 80. That will be the next challenge. It's one thing getting the wall up on your own, but getting the steel up on your own might be a different kettle of fish. But we're going to go for that, and I'm going to, like I say, I'm going to try and do the full build on my own and see how we go. So that's it. Please like, subscribe, yeah, like and subscribe and share it and stuff like that. And if you're on Instagram, I am going to give away this sock set. That's not ox. I am going to give away this sock set. Right, where's the rest, Jen? Just get the other tape measure out of there, Jen, will you? Jen will model the ox stuff for you. So there's a 5 metre tape measure, isn't there, Jen?
Yep.
Yeah, and there's also an 8 metre tape measure, which I'm not sure if it will see the job out. There is the ox lump hammer as well. Yeah. there is an ox set of levels as well. And of course there is the ox what's it called, framing hammer, which I've obviously got some serious skills with. Right, but I'm going to give them away and I'm going to send them to you. What you need to do on Instagram is share it, like it, leave a comment and tag a mate in it. And I'm going to see if I can get some little figures, subscriptions going up there. That's the idea behind that, isn't it? But I'm going to send it out to everybody. It's about £250, although I do believe that won't be worth anything at the end of the day. But the levels are good, and they've got a case as well. So that's it. I will see you Thursday. Thanks very much for watching, and stay safe. Thank you.